morning and welcome to part 2 of the shed build series. Now in this part we're going to frame the floor. So basically what's going to be involved in that is it'll be a 2x6 treated, pressure treated floor with 3/4 inch treated plywood as the deck. Now the reason for going so heavy duty and treated on the deck is this is going to be a garage for a golf cart, like the one you see there. That's my golf cart. But the client's going to park his golf cart in here. So that's the reason for going more heavy duty and also treated, just in case the cart comes in wet or muddy or whatever. Won't have any issues with the floor rotting over time. So I guess we'll get right into it. Now the first thing we're gonna do, all these pads are level and where we want them to be. We're gonna be using a treated 4x4 skid to set the building on, because it is technically classified as a non-permanent movable structure. So the building will sit on these, making it easy to move if it ever needs to be. A picker truck could throw a sling under there or whatever. So yeah, I will get these laid out. I could only get 8-foot 4x4s, which is why we have the center pads, which, thinking of it now, is not a bad idea just because of the span. So it gives it a little extra support. Not that a golf cart is very heavy, but it will give it some extra support and eliminate any sagging issues that could occur. Alright, now these are laid down. I did crown these, meaning that if there's a slight hump to one way, I put it up. So that way the weight of the building will push it down. And you can see, if we get a good look at it, everything's nice and in plane. So that laser is really handy to do that with, because even my plate level is only 14 feet, so I couldn't go between pads lengthwise. So yeah, now we'll get to framing the actual floor system. Now, first thing I do when framing the floor, well, actually the first thing I do is crown the board. This one looked pretty straight. I couldn't notice a crown in it, so it doesn't matter. But like I said before, you crown them and the crown goes up, or if you're doing a wall, the crown goes out. So they cut these a little bit longer, about 16-foot 1, and the building's gonna be 16 feet exactly, so I mark it at 16 and cut it. Alright, so starting with the joists, I'll put my end ones in before I do a layout, just so I have a full square to go with. Got the compressor plugged in. Now, I got my first joist here, so check it for crown. It looks like it's slightly crowned that way. Can't really tell. These are pretty straight boards, but we'll check them anyways. And then this one will just slip right in there. I really need my GoPro. That'll go just like that and then get nailed, and that one will go to the front. Alright, so now for layout, what we want to do, we're going to have the edge of the plywood come right to here. So we'll pull over, we'll frame this 16-inch centers. So we'll mark 3/4 inch back, so the 16 is our center, and you can mark 3/4 ahead if you want. and then put an X in the middle. Then go your next mark, 32. The red numbers are 16-inch centers. And then just keep doing that the whole way down. And you could go 2-foot centers. That is an appropriate framing practice too, but since this is going to be more of a garage, we want the floor as sturdy as we can possibly get it. So we could even go 1-foot centers, but I don't think that'll be necessary. And then our last one is there. So that's basically the layout. Then if you want, you could go back with your square and make a perfect line, but that's not really necessary. It's just rough framing, so. Alright, so everything is all nailed now, 3 nails per in a 2x6. And next step will be squaring up the floor, and with that we're just going to use the corner to corner method because it's such a small building. Like if you had like a great big, like a 60 by 200 shop or something, you might go with the 3-4-5 method, which will give you a square corner. But I'll show you how to do this. Okay, so Garrett's gonna go to that corner and we'll check it. 214 and 9/16 roughly. And 214 and 9/16. So we are perfectly square. All right, so now we're moving on to sheathing the floor, and what we're using is treated 3/4 inch plywood, so that's going to provide a nice solid base to drive on. And typically you'd sheathe perpendicular to your studs or joists in this case. But the way I've decided to do it is sheathe parallel. Reason being is we have an 8-foot span anyways, so that's gonna make it simpler. And we will eliminate a seam down the center that we'd get if we sheathed perpendicular. So that way there won't be any soft spots or any unnecessary seams in the floor. And this way every seam is just going to line up with the joist, so the seams will all be supported. So starting off, I just lay it, we got trees falling on us here. The floor is square right now, so what I'm going to do is just tack it in the corners. And then come over here and you'll notice it's off a little bit, but that's no big deal. We can just pull this out. It's got to come out anyways, or push this in, whichever's easiest. And tack it there. And I'll come over here, make sure it's flush, which it is. Tack it there. And we can go along. And then when it comes to the front portion, since this joist is just loose in here, I can move it to where it's right flush and then nail. Studs, we'll probably have to snap those. So I will put the track on here. Until we have the next one on there, just in case of any blowouts. Alright, so now that we've reached the end, there's a little bit of a discrepancy. I don't know, about an 1/8 inch overhang or whatever, and that's just because of the way they fit together. They'll never get perfectly tight. So this is where the track saw comes in handy. So I just lined it up on the edges where it needs to be. Take that light dusting off of there, and then I can come back and see that there's still a bit of an overhang in the center, but it's flush on the ends. So I'll just pull, stand on it, pull it out to where it needs to be, which is right there. It, so that squares it out. So that pretty much has it for the floor system. Got a nice flat level foundation to start off of. So that should make everything else go quite smoothly. Now if you found this useful, be sure to give the video a like, subscribe if you're new, check out my medias in the links in the description, and we'll see you next time. Don't try not to catch that virus or whatever that's going around.